Inhale deeply. And exhale fully. So as we inhale, we feel the energy coming up. We almost feel this contraction slightly within the shoulders, this lifting in the chest, and then we exhale, feeling all of this energy begin to soften and release. Coming into your natural breath. Feeling the fingers, the tops of the hands on the legs. The arm bones are soft. Shoulders. Feeling your seat onto the earth. And just notice any tension that's within the pelvis, within the legs, feet, ankles. Just begin to notice it, its presence, and soften, release any of that energy. By actively noticing this release of the muscle from the bones, and then just have this visual of the release of this energy going down and towards the earth. Bringing hands to prayer in front of the heart. Coming into an active presence of yourself in the seat. Yourself in this space, in your space. And gently bringing the chin down to the chest. Releasing, opening the eyes. So before we begin, I want us to begin in torso circles. So we're going to go into long, deep breaths, deep inhalation, long exhalations. As you hear the rotation within the hip sockets, within the torso, feeling the slight rotation here within the spine as you go from side to side. Hola. Hola. Long, deep breathing, and then going into the other direction. And we can begin to go slower here. Possibly finding going inward by closing the eyes gives you a deeper sense of softening, a deeper sense of presence with the body, with this moment. Two more deep breaths. And coming into center, closing the eyes. And just take an active awareness of what's showing up in the body. the energetic shift and change, a flow of energy within parts of the body. And gently opening the eyes. We're going to come here into standing. So here in our standing, just begin to find this freedom of walking around in your space, looking around your space, and looking in a way that you are actively connecting, merging yourself in the presence of your surroundings. Feeling your feet onto the earth, the arm bones long and heavy. And then just begin to find this nice ease and movement with soft knees, keeping the knees micro bent. It can be just a nice swaying to begin, lifting the feet just gently, the heels lift, the toes. And here we almost do this, this sway where with the bending of the knees, you feel a little bit of getting into the muscles and the quads. You're feeling a little bit in the hamstrings. And then begin to slow this down, keeping the feet now onto the earth where the heels are grounded, the feet are grounded, and now you're getting this more up into the pelvis, this swaying circular movement. You can begin to let the arms hang and begin to sway themselves. So you're finding more freedom, more softness, more flow in your movements. And then grabbing here the pelvis and begin to go in this figure 8. So you're really having this connection of the pelvis and the movement that it's doing, being carried all the way down through the legs, through the joints, the knees, the ankles, the toes. And then begin to go into a deeper expression. And begin to slow it down now even more. And as you slow down, bring the mind to the joints, the hip sockets, or the pelvis, femur bone to sockets. Just noticing what's showing up here, what sensations. Feeling the knees, what sensations do you feel in the knees and the ankles. And then you can even now find any softness here by releasing the hands and feeling this ease in the upper body as you are more grounded and sturdy and having these deeper movements in the lower body. So just see and connect to the sensation of those two polar opposites happening at the same time, where we find this activeness, this strength, this engagement even in the legs, but at the same time now the arms are soft, the shoulders are soft, my neck is soft, I feel a softness in the chest and the size of the body. And then begin to walk around and have more free-flowing movements here. You can even begin to lower the head, finding a release in the lower back, and then maybe coming up and around. So even going into these big circles of the arm bones. And then going in the other direction. Finding any free movement. Releasing, diving, exploring the spirals of the body. Even coming into these squats here with the movements of the arms. Can get into these spaces where we begin to tire out, fatigue really, certain groups of muscles, right? These muscles that we want to begin to release. In our shaking. So here we're going to come into stillness, and not so much in a way that it's strong and strict. Where we begin to come in to bring ourselves down by scanning the body. No, Canelo. And we're going to just scan here. So here we come more in a still body, but we're having this soft movement. Keeping the knees micro bent. Opening the arms, and scanning here, softening. Feeling almost this presence of the energy from our hands connecting to the presence of the energy of our body. See if you can sense the connection of these two being a field of presence between the hands facing the body and the body facing the hands. Lifting the arm bones up, the hands, where you're pulling from the heavens and bringing that energy down, grounding it into the earth. One more. So begin to open the eyes if they've been closed. And here we're just going to begin to shake. We're going to begin to go into our voluntary shaking. And there's even this bouncing that we have, lifting the heels, shaking at the wrists, the arms. And coming into this freedom, moving the body in any way that feels a comfort in releasing. So here, getting into the shoulders, getting into the face, having some twisting movements. Whatever feels natural to you, whatever is calling to you to move, connect to that sense of freedom here, to get out of that strong and strict way of being, of holding yourself in this way that we think we need to be shown as or presented as. We just come into the release of letting whatever we want to come out from the body and whatever movement is speaking to us, we let that be expressed. So from here, begin to go in these higher shakes, voluntary shakes, getting the body to soften. And you may begin to find, as you come into these higher shakes and going into softening, this presence of release and movement could begin to show some of the quaking, some of the shaking, some of the vibrations that our body wants to begin to release on its own. So begin to slow it down, even more slow. Begin to get even slower with it. Will you come into stillness and observe the body, the breath. Taking a pause. And within that pause, take a deep inhale through the nose. A long exhale out the mouth. And just notice if coming into this state of stillness begins to bring any of the tremors and movements to the surface. So you begin to let yourself just settle and soften. Having the knees bend even more, and you can even go in and out of that. Go towards straightening the knees just slightly, not going into a full locking of the knees, but now slowly micro bend the knees. And you might find as we release a lock of energy from the joints of the knees that we begin to possibly feel a movement of quaking and shaking and involuntary movements within the pelvis, within the body. Go up. And now even lock the knees. So when you go into locking the knees, we come into this strength of energy being present, this almost this tension, right, coming into connection. Now we bend the knees, and you'll feel the release of tension within the quads. You'll feel the release of tension within the calves and within the legs. And here, as we micro bend the knees just slightly, you may begin to find this connection to the mechanism. So go back into locking the knees, and now into a slight bend of the knees. And here we could have some movement. Even go into a deeper bend of the knees. And you play here almost between going into a deeper bend or going into a straightening of the legs. This possible movement and tapping into the mechanism within the body. So from here, we're going to come into just swaying back and forth, but we're going to go from one foot to the next, almost like if you're on skis, almost. And then see where you can find some playfulness within that. See where you can just move in ways that don't need to make sense, that feel nurturing, that feel free. And now we're going to go into letting the arm bones hang and bending at the knees. And then coming up, bending here at the knees. You're going to even squat, bringing the buttocks back. And then coming up. So push the buttocks back, letting the arm bones hang. Even bounce here a little bit. And coming back up. And once more, you squat, bring those sit bones back like you're going to sit in a little chair here. You're going to bounce a little bit and then come back up. And then begin to sway and move here like a snake. Feeling this ease and release of any tension, of any exhaustion in the quads that may have happened in the squatting. I have an animal kingdom. Now from here, we're gonna come in, we're gonna go into these leg lunges. So before we start that, so you're gonna come with your feet hips width apart, having a nice soft bend in the knees. And you're gonna step one of the legs back. You can have hands on hips for balance. And just bending the knee. Stretching the psoas on the right side. And then going to the other side. You can have the arm bones hang. Long deep breaths. And step forward once more, lunging back. And then having the pubic bone, having the pelvis, going in a deep bend in the front knee, letting the rest of the body sink down towards the earth. And step forward. And once more on the other side. Lunging, bending, having the arm bones hang. And again, if you don't feel comfortable in balance, then you can stabilize yourself by holding at the pelvis. Find some freedom here. And stepping forward. And then begin to shake that out. Finding a nice pulse and bouncing in the legs. So we're going to go and come into stillness here, just slightly moving out of this. And just begin to come into closing the eyes, feeling your presence, feeling the shift of energy in the body. And maybe you begin to feel any movements. Releasing the breath from the mouth. Can really tap into deeper layers of softening. And then gradually open the eyes. So here we're going to go back into our lunge. But this time we're going to go very soft with it. So we're going to begin to bend. It's going to be a little different where we're going to be working with the back leg. And so it's a nice soft lunge in the front leg. And we begin to micro bend the back leg just slightly. And as we do that, you may begin to feel and connect to the mechanism, the release, the shaking. And we can go into straightening the leg, locking the knee. Just notice how that stops the flow of energy within the muscles to do its release. And then begin to micro bend at the knee. And you can begin to play with this. You can keep your hands on the hips if that helps with balance, or keeping the arm bones to the sides of the body. And we begin to softly let the leg going to is release. So let's step forward. This is a little intense with staying in the lunge. So whenever you feel an exhaustion in the leg, then we come out of it. We're gonna go on the other side, having that right knee be softly bent. We don't need to go into any deep lunge at this point. We can bring a softness to this experience by straightening the back leg, and again, locking at the knee, locking at the joint, and now begin to micro bend that knee. And as you begin to micro bend that knee, you may begin to feel the presence. And even here, if there's some difficulty with balance, you'll see that I have this banister here. I can use this with my right arm to hold for balance. So I can really soften. I don't have to worry so much about maintaining a balance, because I always have like this kickstand of an arm here to assist, and begin to soften the knee, micro bend it. So we let this exploration of the body begin to occur. And maybe these tremors and shakes become present. So again, I'm going to stop it by locking it. And I will begin it by just going really slow here, really slow micro bend. And you'll see even as I'm micro bending, there is this control that I have. Even a micro bend that I'm holding on to the leg, I'm holding on to myself, that can restrain the ability for these mechanisms to come through. Now, as I release some of the muscle against bone, this holding of muscle against bone, and I tap into softening, then I have this experience that begins to arise, this release within the leg. So I'm going to step forward here. We're going to relax. You can shake the legs out. Letting anything that's coming up and within the body out of the mouth. Even do a nice twisting. So we can make this even more of a comfort by coming onto our hands and knees. If you need any support for the knees, this is a good time that you can roll your blanket up or a mat to support the knees. So I'm going to even roll my blanket up here just a bit to get a nice cushion. And so here, going on hands and knees, and I'm going to work with bringing my right leg back. So I'm going to bring my right leg back, doing the same kind of concept with working with bending at the joint, bending at the knee, micro bending, but exploring within that, going in and out of the bending to find, to connect to the spot where you begin to feel any of the movement within. And it can be something, with my demonstration here, you'll see that my body really is presenting and showing the movements in a big way, whereas it doesn't have to be at that extent. It can be where you begin to find just very high vibrations within the body. So it's from all different frequency of where each person's going to be at, of what they're going to feel, what's going to come to the surface, and it can change in various parts of the body. So Here on hands and knees, I'm going to bring the right leg back. And again, I'm going to lock the knee. I'm going to have a strong, straight leg. I'm really hugging muscle against bone. But now when I begin to micro bend at the knee, I begin to soften, where you should feel this tension within the leg, within the muscle begin to subside, begin to relax muscle away from the bone. So I go down, you can go down, bringing the knee closer towards the earth and then lifting the leg up and begin to find where this mechanism begins to show up. Long, deep breaths. There can be a difference of letting the head drop and looking at the leg, lifting the head up, bringing the shoulders, broadening at the collarbone, just feeling, connecting to this like micro attention to have in what's occurring. So these micro changes within the body. It might be, okay, I bring my head down and now I'm seeing it's coming into the upper body. I lift the head up, is going now up in my skull. So this is all part of the exploration from a somatic based experience to see and to feel what is happening to you. And we can release, we can sit back, bring our feet together, coming down to child's pose. In child's pose, you can even bring the hands around, relaxing the upper body, because here in our all fours, we're now getting more into the shoulders, into the arms. And here we're going to go to the other side, so coming back to hands and knees, and this time extending the left leg out. Having the right foot be soft, the top of the foot be on the earth. And same thing here, begin to micro bend at the knee to explore. You can lock the knee to actively stop any kind of tremors within the body, and now begin to bend at the knee, but at the same time soften the leg, soften the muscle, hugging of muscle against the bone. And wherever you find your experience of movement, of vibration, just begin to have long, deep breathing and let yourself settle into that experience. You can play with the head again, bringing the head down, looking at the leg, or lifting the head up, broadening the collarbones, and bringing the head down. And back up. And coming into child's pose. Very good. Now from here, I just want to keep guiding this same knowledge by now coming onto our bellies. So the same thing here. So we're going to come down. Just do a couple stretches here by extending the arms out and coming down, doing some nice stretching within our psoas muscle. Lifting up, hugging the elbows in, and coming down. Can shake from side to side. Coming back up and down. And shaking. Swaying. And coming back up. Feeling your breath. Feeling this nice release in the psoas. And coming back down. So from here, I'm going to have us go onto our forearms. So it's going to give us a little, even more of an ease within the upper body, being on the elbows, on the forearms. You can tuck, and we'll start on the right side, our right toes under, and lift the leg up off the earth. We're going to begin to walking the knee. And now here, begin to micro bend that knee just slightly. And you may begin to feel some kind of movement within the leg. So you can go into locking, really creating a tension within the body, hugging muscle against the bone, locking at the joint. And now begin to soften, bending the knee, micro bending the knee. And begin to play around with this. Now, we can even play around with our upper body. We begin to even relax down on the earth and see if you can have your body completely relax, the upper body, and maintain the exploration of the right leg, the movement. And at any time, you're able to stop, kind of untuck the foot and just come into a relaxation. Long deep breathing. You can, and really just giving yourself that pause, that time to integrate the releasing of the system, of bringing our nervous system from hyperactivity down to rest and digest. We can continue with the same leg, tucking the foot under and lifting. You lift the knee up off the earth, and just even part of the quad, the lower part of the quad is lifting. And now begin to micro bend at the knee, and we continue to explore and release, working with this right side with the right leg. And you go into just having the knee hover above the earth. So we don't have any collapsing of the knee as of yet, unless you want to stop. And here we just maintain this hovering. And then just notice here how much more of a softness within the body in this position, lying onto the earth. Arm bones are soft. Just feel the ease and the presence of this softness as you are releasing and working with the involuntary shaking. And here we're going to release. So here we're going to go to the other side, the left foot, tuck the left foot under, lift the leg up, the knee is lifted. We have this locking of the knee. And once more, we're going to begin to explore. So begin to micro bend at the knee, micro bending, hovering above the earth. And just notice and see what begins to show up. Again, remember at any time this is feeling unsafe for you, or there's any kind of flooding of emotions, of thoughts within the experience, you have every control and opportunity to pause, to stop, and let yourself relax and rest. At the same time that you can relax and rest, you have every ability to make that conscious and active decision to continue within the experience, within the release, within the discharging of energy from within the body, of tension, deep muscular tension within the body that could be created through experiences of trauma, experiences of life that have been uncomfortable, that affected you in deep ways. And we're going to come here, stop and relax. You can even turn your head in the opposite direction to let yourself change sides with the head, with the neck, to relax. So let's go back into child's pose, feet together, knees apart. Bring the arm bones to the feet, relaxing the upper body. And then from here, coming up and then back down. Bring the hands to the sides of the chest, elbows hugging the body. Inhale, come up. You can even give yourself a little wiggle here within the pelvis, and exhale, come down. This time we're going to bring the hands in front, coming into Sphinx, and lifting the elbows up, gaze forward, and slowly bringing the arm bones down. And then begin to slowly bring the arms up and down. So you're going to continue to do that. You might find that you need some cushion underneath the pubic bone, underneath the body. If you're finding any pain with the hard floor, you're going to bring yourself up and you micro bend the elbows, and you might begin to find some movement here in the upper body. So you begin to play with this. And this can also become quite tiring, and you can come down and relax. Lifting yourself back up. You can even widen the arms out and bend at the elbows here with the arms, playing around, seeing here if there's any experience of movement. Once more, you can bring it more narrow, closer in towards the center midline of the body, bending the elbows down towards the earth, going wide, bending elbows away from you. Coming back to center. And slowly release. Turning the head. And we're going to come back into child's pose. Coming here, sitting onto the earth. Just begin to come into this pause even more, lifting the arm bones up and gradually scanning down through the body, pushing, bringing energy down to the earth. Just coming here, sitting in stillness. Coming to our backs. We're going to work here slightly by bringing the pelvis up. Arm bones to the earth, soft, and then bringing the pelvis down. So you're going to hover the glutes right above the earth, and you're going to go very slow here, and even maybe with that hovering, you might begin to find some movement. So you'll find here, let's bring the glutes down and completely come into this state of relaxation. And now begin to bring the head bones of the pelvis up and towards the body where the pubic bone is going up towards the sky. And we're going to begin to lift up. But at the same time as you're lifting, you could lift and really hug in towards the center midline, hug in towards the body, and I would stop the mechanism. I would stop the ability for it to come through. Now I soften, letting the glutes just soften down. But when the glutes soften down, we don't let the glutes touch the earth. We just let the softening happen. And now here, the mechanism begins to come to the surface. So I can go slightly down with the glutes, bringing it down towards the earth, hovering above the earth. And you'll see here, in my experience, I begin to tap into the mechanism. So this is all of an exploration, going up and down. You can even widen the legs, go up and down, or narrow the legs, going up and down. Again, to explore this, you can come into pausing if it's too much in the legs to stay in there for a long length of time. You can relax and rest. And now come back into it. Begin to bring the butt up and lower it down. Bring it up, lower it down. And you just begin to explore, almost finding your shaking station. And when you find it, begin to just settle there and embrace the experience. And now we bring our buttocks down, and we're going to go into feet together, knees apart. Having yourself go into this wide diamond shape. You can begin to lift the knees up just slightly, and maybe here, lifting the knees up about an inch off the earth, you may begin to find your experience. And you can do the same thing, bringing the knees closer, gradually going into bringing them apart. And begin to explore that, bringing them closer and bringing them slowly apart. Going into bringing them back and forth. as you go into this flow of experience, this flow of navigating your body, and at any time this feels uncomfortable or you want to stop, you can just simply straighten your legs, pause, stop, just be. And when you're ready, if you're ready, you could just stay here if you'd like, or you can come back into it, feet together, knees apart, and again, going into this exploration. Maybe seeing if it's going different parts of the body now. Begin to move and explore where you can shift the experience to. And then you can even go where you're bringing the feet to the earth. The legs are soft. You can lengthen the legs, keeping the knees micro bent. You can bring them closer towards the body, having a deeper bend. You can bring the leg wider or walk them in, bring them more narrow. Just play around with those various spots of exploration, of movement within the body. I even go here with keeping the knees micro bent, but the legs are a little more going into straightening. And now I straighten and release. Coming into a pause. So here, feeling your breath, feeling the body, letting yourself integrate this experience of navigating, releasing, becoming a deeper, more settled, present person with having this nervous system, this way that life can take over, the experience of life that can take over our energetic being. The more we nurture this nervous system, this energetic body, the better we are able to show up in a more stable, mindful, and grounded way when stressors arise in our life. The stressors will never stop. They will always be there. Life, the events of life, the experiences of life will always be present. It's all about how we show up in presence to those stressors. And in the presence we have and how we show up gives us the ability to tap deeper in our state of peace, in our state of living in happiness, in a blissful state of being no matter what is happening. So letting yourself here continue to embrace